Hello, hello. Welcome in, everyone. Give you just a moment or two to join in. Happy Wednesday. Hello, friends. Welcome. As you're joining, tell us where you're joining in from. I want to make sure everyone can see me and hear me okay, and all the technology and audio and visual are working properly. So give us a little note in the chat. My name's Melanie Griffin. I'm from Dallas, Fort Worth, Texas. I'll introduce my co-presenters here in just a minute, but we are so glad to have you here for our Fit Over 50 session. Welcome, welcome. Hi, Marsha, Jan, Cynthia. Got some Arizona friends, Missouri, Ohio, North Carolina. Goodness, we are so glad that you're here. Thank you so much for joining us for this workshop. We're all over the place. Hi, Diana from Texas. I'm also in Texas. Great to have you. Wisconsin, Iowa. Denise is from Iowa originally.
Yeah.
Some more Missouri friends. Wonderful. Oh, and someone from all the way from across the pond in England.
Wow.
Yeah, amazing.
Where everyone's coming from here.
I know. What a group. This is fantastic. Well, we are so excited to have you here. As people are joining, I just wanted to do a brief little introduction of our session today. I am Melanie Griffin. I'm your host of AMAC Active, the health and wellness arm of AMAC. We are so thrilled to be able to bring you content like this at no charge, just value. We want you to be able to take this information and apply it to your life and make it as simple and straightforward as possible to just really help you live a long, healthy, happy, independent, vibrant life and get a lot of joy out of that. And one of the things that I wanted to mention just right off the bat is that we do have AMAC Active specifically has a title sponsor, Native Path, that brings these sessions to us, to all of our members at no charge. So I wanted to make sure that I just gave them a little shout out, and I put a link in the chat that you can click and read about Native Path and the type of protein, collagen, specific type of protein that they say everyone over 50 should be taking. So take a look at that, learn about collagen, support our friends at Native Path. We're so glad that you are here. So thanks, everyone. As I mentioned, Fit Over 50, strength, mobility, and confidence for life. We're talking about strength training, no matter your fitness level. We'll ask you about that in just a minute so you can tell us in a beginner, intermediate, advanced where you are. We'll be talking a little bit about mobility, and we'll be talking also about balance and hopefully give you some very practical action steps. Let me introduce my friends to you, Jennifer and Denise. They are here with us from Beyond Fit Coach. So I'll start with Jennifer. Jennifer is an IFBB pro athlete, certified coach and trainer. Her passion for movement began at age 9 in her grandmother's karate studio and continued on through competitive dance, cheerleading, and eventually the NFL as a Cincinnati Bengals cheerleader. So anyone from that area, you got to make sure you say hi in the chat and let Jennifer know. She did go on to build an impressive career in the NPC and IFBB competitive world, becoming a 4-time Olympia athlete, a 4-time Arnold International competitor, and a 4-time IFBB pro champion. And her specialty, she works with clients, and her areas of specialty include menopause, fitness, osteoporosis training, and behavior change. So welcome, Jennifer. And we also have Denise Rose. She is an NASM, National Academy of Sports Medicine trainer and behavior change specialist, also a seasoned competitor, professional with 18 NPC and IFBB fitness events under her belt. She specializes in training for adults over 40. She focuses on glute development, injury prevention, and smart programming that helps clients feel strong, stable, and pain-free through midlife and beyond. So you have two very, very credentialed, very experienced instructors and teachers today to walk us through this information. They together founded Beyond Fit Coach to help men and women become stronger, healthier, and more confident through sustainable fitness habits. So Jennifer and Denise, thank you so much for being here. We're so excited for this session and to learn from you. So you know us, we want to get to know you a little bit. I'm going to start with just 3 short poll questions. So you'll see the poll come up on your screen. First thing we're wondering is, how would you describe your current experience with strength training specifically, not just walking or swimming or cardiovascular, but actual strength training, picking up the weights, you or bands or things like machines, things like that. Maybe you're a beginner. You might be really interested in learning like how to get started and what to do to start this habit. Maybe intermediate, and maybe you are joining us today and you are already advanced. You know what you're doing, and you're just looking for some pointers or how to elevate it, take it to the next level. So we're curious to hear from you around your current experience level. So I'll give that just a moment or two. Looks like we've got the majority. I think we're landing kind of between beginner and intermediate, ladies. That's what it's looking like to me. So, okay, let me go ahead and close that one. And I've got two more quick questions. The next one is the obstacles. We're always really curious about this, hearing from you. What gets in the way? So if you do encounter obstacles preventing you from strength training regularly, what does that look like for you? Is it, I'm not really sure about safety or which exercises are safe, maybe concern about injury or joint pain, access to the right equipment or a gym? It might be motivation. That's something I think we all struggle with in different seasons and at different times. Lack of a busy schedule, or maybe none of these. If there's something else that we didn't put in those options, you could put it in the chat and let us know what it is. So you might have something different. Just let us know in the chat. We're really curious. Okay, so I see those results are starting to come through. Yep. It looks like we're kind of across the board on this one with responses, but the largest category looks like struggling with motivation or consistency. Not a surprise, really. I think we can all relate to that. Wonderful. Okay. And then also some real concerns about injury, joint pain, safety, that type of thing. Okay. You're in the right place to get some answers. And then the last question here briefly is specifically for balance and stability during your everyday activities of everyday life. How confident do you feel with your balance, stability? Very confident. You rarely worry about, being unstable or even potentially falling. Maybe somewhat concerned. Sometimes I feel unsteady, or this is a more regular where you worry about this. This might be a more consistent concern for you. So let us know where you stand on that, because a section of our session today is specifically about balance. And so this will really be helpful for Denise and Jen as they share that content with you. So let us know how you feel about balance and stability. It looks like we're kind of hovering halfway between the confident and somewhat concerned areas. And I'll let a few more folks respond, and then we'll dive right in. Okay. Yeah, I think it's looking about pretty much fairly split, but with only about 16% being concerned, but approximately 30% confident, 30% somewhat concerned. Okay, wonderful. Thanks everyone for sharing that feedback with us. We're so grateful for the feedback, so we can help tailor the session to be as valuable as possible for you. So all that being said, I am going to hand it over now to Denise. She's going to give us a little bit of a brief introduction. You'll get practical exercises in this session. We have videos to show you and demonstrate, give you some coaching tips, but what movements you need to be focusing on. And we'll talk a little bit about mobility and balance and give you some fun freebies at the end as well. So Denise, take it from here.
Wow, what a great introduction and a great group today. This is like so fun. And honestly, I'm honored to be here. I love sharing with people and want to help people feel successful. And first of all, I want everyone to know that like there's a lot of ways to get better and get better results. It's not going to be completely black and white. So we joke about like it living in the gray. So like it can be customized, and then there's a lot of right answers for everybody. So just know that we're going to shoot for like advice for the middle, like the average person. But then if you have specific questions, I know Melanie, you shared that people can put their questions in, and if we don't get to them today, we can follow up with you. But thank you for joining, and Melanie, thank you for the opportunity. It's Jennifer and I work so well together, and just appreciate this opportunity that we have to help people. But we want to start with like, why is this a topic? Like, why are we talking about fitness over 50 versus like just fitness in general? Because as we age, and we all do age at different rates, but moving, through our life, one of my good friends and mentors talks about our play span matching our lifespan, which I love that. And I really try to own that and share that as much as I can, because that means that as long as our full lifespan, we're able to still do what we love to do as long as possible. So that's what the play span means there. And I love that phrasing, and adopted that from him. But we talk about that because as we age, we all might feel it at different times. Like for me, I feel like things really shifted in my late 40s. I'm in my mid 50s now. So it wasn't like a complete shift. It was kind of gradual, but then you might notice different times where it's more apparent to you. And that just comes from, so things that can happen is it's harder to keep the muscle that we had before. So a long word for that is sarcopenia. When we lose muscle tissue, we do lose mobility. Our ligaments and tendons tighten up. So not just our muscles. So it can be frustrating because stretching may not be as effective as it used to be, like 10 or 20 years ago, because of the ligaments and tendons tightening up and losing hydration, which those two things combined affect our balance and how steady we feel on one foot, or, climbing a ladder, or being in an unstable environment, like trying to take down the Christmas tree ornaments, or, just day-to-day life. You're like, this doesn't seem as stable as it used to. But the good news is there's always ways to work around that, provided, we're not injured. We would deal with injuries first, to get us back to baseline. But provided we're not dealing with a specific injury right now, all those things go hand in hand. So it's not necessarily like I have to block out time to get stronger and then block out separate time to work on mobility and balance, because they're all going to play nicely together and be kind of a mix of results with the way that we do our workouts. So that's just important to know. As we age too, part of the reason with the muscle loss is we just don't absorb our foods and nutrients as well as we did before. So everything ages, even our digestive tract. So just for easy numbers, say you ingested 100 grams of protein. At age 30, you would be absorbing 100 grams. Well, maybe at age 60, maybe we're absorbing 20 or 30% less than that. So the hardest thing is the demand to consume protein goes up to ensure that our body still gets the protein that we need, because that's like the Legos. Protein is like the building blocks of how we repair and recover. And it's not it's not always motivating to hear this, but we just break down faster than we can recover the longer, we're around and living out our life here. So that's key, is like looking at your plate and building your meals around the protein. And then with mobility, that's important because we still want the body to be able to move through different ranges of motion. So if we intend to work our legs, say we're going to do a squat, but maybe we sit a lot and now we don't have the mobility in our back. And then all of a sudden, due to the lack of mobility, now we feel squats in our back. And that's not really the intended muscle group. So that's the key to mobility, not just to be more limber or mobile, which I don't know if you feel this way, but I hear this a lot. They're like, I'm not very flexible, so I don't like to stretch, right? We like to do things we're good at. So when it comes to fitness, Try to lean into the things you're not necessarily good at, because you're going to get the biggest return on your time investment working on things like that. Now in life, we try to go like, hey, own what you're good at, stay with that. But with exercise, lean into like, oh, that was challenging. Maybe I should do a little bit more of that. And then balance gets better the stronger we are, and then the more mobile and stable those joints are. So just for fun, like think about your foot. There's 22 muscles in the foot, in one foot. So like that's a lot of work. We spend a lot of time in shoes. So like just little things like going barefoot. If you've ever walked on the beach or walked, through sand, then the next day your feet were sore, because that's a very unstable environment. So little things like that, like building up the strength of your feet. We don't really write that into our workout programs. I know Jennifer is going to touch on like how to build out a program, but just little things like that just don't seem so complicated. And then back to like the mobility and the muscle. Our bodies are, anywhere 60, 70% water at any given time. And hydration is just something that's free. It seems so simple to advise people drink more water. It's like as simple as like get more sleep. But the payoff of staying hydrated is just, you're going to kick yourself. You're going to be like, I should have been drinking more water all along. So it's kind of a simple thing, but like, it's a common question of like, hey, just how much water did you drink today? Stay hydrated, because then our efforts to be stronger, to be more mobile, to have better balance is all going to, create the right environment for that change. Did you want to add anything to that, Jennifer?
No, that was great. I was going to say water, stress, and sleep are three things that we don't think of that can really impact your results in the way of life. So really think about that whenever you're doing your program. If you're doing your program and you're like, why am I not getting results? It could be water, stress, or sleep. So make sure you're getting your Z's in your water and you're keeping your stress low. Much easier said than done, but yeah.
So that's why we just refer to them as the 3 pillars of fitness. Just focus on those 3 things. And when I'm training clients that I have over 60, or I have a few clients over 70, I know it can be hard to stay, motivated, but comparison, try not to be like, well, I used to could do this, or before I was doing this. Try not to compare. Give yourself grace, compare your body. Don't compare your body where you're at now to like what you were 10 or 15 or 20 years ago, because that's going to get you nowhere fast. Just give yourself grace, accept where you're at now, and then just the things we can control and work on, that's what we're going to focus on. So especially when it comes to mobility, I've heard people say like my knees don't bend like they used to, or my hips aren't as mobile. That's okay. That's true. But we're just going to have the best mobility, range of motion that we can with where we're at. And then we can build the workouts and the program around what's possible. So that's like my reassurance to everybody is, we all might look a little different doing it. Jennifer's going to go through like our main foundational movement patterns that we want to feel good with. And if we saw a video of all of you doing these exercises she's going to go over with you, we might all look a little different. In fact, we would all look different, but we're going to have the biggest range of motion we can have in a pain-free environment. Like the depth of your squat is in a pain-free range, which might be different for everybody that we're watching. And then we just set up parameters to show improvement with, building on that and developing a bigger range of motion and getting stronger with your balance. One quick thing before I transition into those is just food for thought. So like whenever I've had a client get injured or strain their back or injure their knee, they rarely have this really cool story. It's not like, oh, I was mountain climbing in the Alps, or, it's like I stepped off a curb or I picked up a piece of paper. It's never like this really amazing story. So like, just think about this, the walking stride for 70% of that walking stride, you were on one leg. So balance is like a huge return on your investment, because like we're on one leg, we're on one leg, we're on one leg as we walk around. And then I know with, you know, as we age and maybe you're over 70 or, you know, in your 80s, then we just watch out for avoiding shuffling. And we really train to be able to lift the leg, have that knee up so that we have the strength to lift our knee and we don't shuffle, because that's when we can trip easier. But yes, and it's never too late to start. It doesn't matter what your age is currently, there's something we can do to help you. So this is, you know, why it matters. The payoff is huge. We talk about bone density a lot. And the interesting thing is typically we're getting advice, you know, to first do our bone density scan at age 65, which is better than, it's not like better than never doing it, but try it, like sooner would be better. We call it the silent hunger. So like our body stores calcium in our bones, and we need 3 servings of calcium rich food a day. So if we don't eat the calcium that day, your body's going to go find it somewhere, and it's going to go take it from your bones. And we don't feel that. We don't feel like, oh, I didn't have 3 servings of calcium rich food yesterday. You didn't feel it go leach out of your thigh bone, for example, right? So it's just little things of like looking at our nutrition, feeding our bodies, paying attention to what's going in so that we stay nourished, and then we don't lose the bone or the muscle that we already have, because we need that. But training your muscle, think about it as like the stronger the muscle is, it hugs your bone tighter and it helps that bone stay stronger, denser, and support you better, which all of that combined like decreases your risk of falling, which we all, back to the play span, we want to keep doing what we love, which is supporting your independence. And that way you have the choice of what you're doing, where you're living, how you're doing your daily activities, things like that. I know I can get wordy with all that, but I just love it. It does all play together. But I do encourage you, like in a world where fast food or just convenience is often key. And then I know with my mom, she cooked for 8 children her whole life. So like she's kind of tired of cooking, you know, so like I think feeding herself quality food isn't as exciting as like when was taking care of children and feeding them. But I always say, like, if you fed yourself like you were your own baby, your quality of nutrition would go up, because we all are nurturers at heart. So take care of yourself like you take care of other people, and that would be a big payoff.
That's huge. I always tell people, take care of yourself, treat yourself like you would your best friend. I'm like, would you talk to your best friend like that? So yeah, that's really important.
I love that. That's a great point. Yeah. So Jennifer, do you want to show, I know you did some great videos to like demonstrate. I know I'm a visual learner. It really helps me to see things, but I'd love if you would like walk us through what you refer to as the 5 foundational movement patterns.
Right. So hello, everyone. I'm so glad you are here. So you're right, Denise, like strength is the foundation for independence, and we all want to be independent, right? As long as we can. So the first thing we're going to go over is how to do some of these exercises. I've given you some basic stuff. I'm going to give you some cues. We're going to have some videos, have some fun. So bend and lift. So when you're squatting, you want to, so this is good for picking up something from the floor, unloading your groceries, making your bed, carrying your grandkids, your kids. So daily activities, you know, so you want to do functional exercises. So squatting, deadlift, glute bridge, things like that. The first thing you want to do before you even start any exercise is engage your core. Your core is engaged first, okay? Then you're going to move. So right here, you're squatting. You want to make sure that you're keeping your knees behind your toes. Your core's engaged. Also, when you are training, it is very important that you connect your mind to your muscle. That is extremely important. And what I mean by that is think about the muscle you're working. Don't think about what you have to do after you work out or what song is on the radio or whatever's going on. And you'll know what I'm talking about when you really connect the mind to the muscle. That's going to keep you safe, and that's going to keep the muscle working properly. So in the video, I've basically given you a couple different ways to do the squats. You can load or keep it. I would always start out with no weights. Okay. Perfect the exercise, then add what we call load, or you can use bands, dumbbells, things like that. You want to push back in your hips. All right. So the next video which is a bend and lift style, is a deadlift. So a lot of people do deadlifts wrong. They think about bending over when actually you're sitting back. So you want to make sure that you move your hips, you're not using your lower back. Keep your ribs stacked over your hips, and then you want to make sure you get a good stretch. Any muscle, any training that you're doing, you want to make sure you get a good stretch in that muscle right there, and then squeeze. And what that actually does is I know it sounds bad, but it like damages the muscle, but that's what we want for it to get stronger. I showed you not to bend over. So you're not bending over, you're not curving your back, keeping your back straight, and you're bringing your hips back. Okay. And you want to keep that load close to your body. You don't want it, holding the weights out, because then that's going to hurt. But first rule is to make sure you engage that core, right? So let's move on to the single leg strength. So this includes balancing and lunging exercises. So it's huge for walking upstairs, stepping over things. Just like Denise said, sometimes our clients get hurt just by stepping over things, right? And you're like, we've got to come up with a better story than that. So you want to keep those single leg movements really good. So you could do like step ups, you can do reverse lunges, single leg deadlifts, more advanced move. That's a more advanced move. And then standing marches. So this is going to help improve your balance and things like that. And in that video, you want to make sure that you hold onto a support if needed when you're doing anything single legged. Okay. And focus on control, not speed. Okay. Think about quality, not quantity, because when you start going fast is when and not engaging your core and think about your muscle is when you can really get hurt. You want to make sure that your knees never come over your toes. Okay. They track over that middle toe, but the knee does not go over. And then again, make sure you start with your body weight first when doing things like this. Okay. And then with the, moving on to the pushing movements.
Hey, Jen, one sec. I was going to just say, I should have said this at the beginning, but we are going to send you all these videos too, by the way. So don't worry, you'll have a video with all of these that we're demonstrating right now to use as a reference and a resource after. And you're also going to get a full recording of the session. So if you want to go back and re-listen to Jen's cues, you can have that too. So I just wanted to make sure everybody knew you don't have to frantically write notes or anything, but we're going to provide this to you. Okay. So look for that in an email after the webinar.
Yes, and please reach out if you all have any questions. We're here to help. Members, non-members, we're here to help you. So if you're like, what did you say about that? We'll give you the contact and you can reach out and we're happy to help you, okay? But with pushing movements, again, functional training, day-to-day life stuff. We're getting up from a chair, we're pushing open a heavy door, getting up from the floor, which we want to do that fast, right? And putting things overhead. So right here, we're doing a good stretch through the chest. Again, stretch that chest muscle and squeeze at the top. Again, only add load once you've kind of got everything going. So you could do a push-up against the wall. You could do a push-up on your knees. There is training you can do even if you're just getting started. You do not have to do dumbbells, okay? We have training that's body weight, bands, all that fun stuff. So what are we going to do? We're going to keep our core engaged. We're going to keep our shoulders when we're doing pushing movements rolled back and down. I see a lot of people, they like to shrug up their shoulders into their neck. We want to make sure that our shoulders stay back and down. Again, mind to the muscle, knowing where we are during our training is very important. Also, when you're training, you always want to breathe. Please breathe. I know it can get difficult, but you don't want to hold your breath. You want to make sure you're breathing out on the exertion. So when something's hurting, that's when you're breathing. So right here, I would breathe in when I come down, breathe out when I push up. Okay, so make sure you're breathing. With the pulling movements, pulling strengthens the upper back. Also, it's great for posture. All right, and good for shoulder health. We use our shoulders so much. We have clients that come to us and they're like, we have, shoulder injuries. How can we work around that? And we absolutely can. But you want to make sure that you're, again, stretching, you're rolling your shoulder back and down into, we call it the pocket. So roll your shoulder back and down. So you're not going to shrug your shoulder up. You're going to reach, get a good stretch, and then squeeze. Make sure when you're doing pulling movements, you are using your back, not your arms or your biceps. That is your secondary, what we call our secondary muscle. You're going to feel it there, but you want to mind to muscle, connect the mind to the muscle and pull with that back. Okay. So this is going to help, like if you're carrying things, again, with your posture, this is so important. So you could do like banded row. You could do what we're doing there, or the machine in the gym that's a lat pull down machine. So again, just make sure you keep your core engaged with this and that we're doing good with that. And then keep your chest proud too. And a lot of the exercises, you don't want to round yourself over. You want to keep your chest proud when you're doing that. And I think that was it with the pulling movements. Again, if you have any questions, put them in the chat. We'll get to those. Okay. Rotational movements. Okay. So life is not in a straight line. Sometimes we wish it was, but we do a lot of moving and moving around, like getting in I know with my kids, I'm always reaching in the back seat. I'm like, I'm not a contortionist, you all. But you get in the back seat, you are putting your dishes away. I just put dishes away. And I mean, you move around a lot, right? So you have to learn rotational movements. Something very important, I know I said it a bunch, is your core has got to be engaged. So when I say engaged, you can sit here and do this right now. Take your belly button and push it back to your spine, and then think about just squeezing your core in. All right, but you're breathing at the same time. Okay, that is what you want to feel. Pull your belly button back to your spine and then engage before you even lift. Okay. So with this, we're doing wood chop movements. So you're going to reach up and come down. You can do, again, rotational movements with or without weights. Again, right there, I'm showing you zip up your abs, reach, and then pull all the way down. That's a big movement. Okay. You might not be ready for that, but definitely give it a try if you can. So this is, you want to make sure that you're pulling with your upper back, not your lower back. Okay. When you're doing a movement like this, and move slow, but with intention. So you don't want to swing the weight up and pull it down. You want to reach, engage, pull it down slowly and bend. And always perfect the exercise before you load. I know I've said that a couple times. So, there you go. So reach and then pull, come down. And that's a squat too. So you want to make sure those knees are not going over those toes. Well, that one side, but when you're coming down over that one. All right. So those are just some basic exercises just to get you started. Like Melanie said, she will send you the video. If you have any questions, you can reach out to us. I hope you wrote down some of those cues. You can go back and listen to those if you need to. We're going to talk about mobility, and Denise is going to take it from here and talk about the mobility.
Yes. Well, good job. That was a lot of information and just really one examples. I know some people in the chat are saying, like if I don't have dumbbells, but that's where you can use other things. Like I love bands, because they're lightweight, portable. You can do them in your living room. You can do them, really anywhere.
You can even use water bottles,
yeah,
gallon jug, something. Get creative.
So the mobility plays into what Jennifer is talking about, is about perfecting the movement. So just bending down, and practicing keeping a flat back. So when you do it without load, when you're moving your body and your joints without load through the biggest range of motion you can have. We just call that mobility. And you think of mobility, like if we say stretch, most people know what that means. So you think of like, if you want the muscles to go through full range of motion, then we call that like stretching or flexibility. And then the main difference is the word mobility is when we take the joints through ranges of motion, which of course is going to affect the muscle, but that's just the difference of like that word, you know, so you don't get kind of caught up with confusion over that. So even just that, like overhead movements, overhead reaching is probably, you know, the most limiting movement as we age, being able to reach up. So even if it's just a wall slide, you know, you go to your wall and you're just trying to like reach up the wall or crawl your fingers up the wall, just play around with where will my shoulder go? How high am I able to move my arm? And then maybe you did that 3 times, 10 times. That's an example of mobility. Even just, you know, because that's also duplicating some functional work. So if anyone has anything going on, like maybe you're recovering from like any kind of stroke, or you've had Parkinson's or anything like that, you want to like practice moving across your midline. So pretend there's like a middle line, like nose to navel. And like when you do things and you move across that midline, it does a great job of like kind of, it's almost like a brain massage. I'm using very layman's terms. It gets the right and left hemisphere kind of awake and working together. And that's really helpful to do with both of those things. I have a client that has Parkinson's. So we start out with mobility and we really get him moving first and awake, get his mind awake. And then we do some strength training. And then we finish that session with some flexibility and just working on the muscles so that he feels good moving. So you do that. And then, like Jennifer said, the rotation of the spine. I learned this a long time ago, so this is easier. Like you have all the different vertebrae. So think of like your cervical spine as breakfast. You eat that at 7 a.m. So there's 7 of those. Your thoracic is your mid back. Think of that as lunch. 12. There's 12 of those. So that's your biggest part of your back. And then like your lumbar spine, maybe that's dinner at 5 o'clock. So 7, 12, 5. So that big section in the middle, our thoracic, you know, being able to reach in the back seat, we lose that mobility first as we age. So if you're short on time, at least do like rotational things unloaded and just get that feeling of being able to turn and move through your spine. Because a lot of times that's where you're going to feel tightness first. So again, just the movement of that there's benefits to that. And we get busy and you probably have it during your daily life and you're like, well, maybe I don't need that. But even if you just took 5 minutes and, you know, did it, set aside time, you know, in the morning, or whatever works best for you. But if you could only pick one for mobility, I would do rotation. Just keep that spine awake and moving, and the movement increases blood flow, and your blood is everything that carries oxygen, it carries nutrients. So anything to increase blood flow to a joint is going to be helpful with keeping the mobility you have and working on more mobility through that joint. And then, so examples, there's a video of Jennifer on the floor and the hips. So like biggest, other than thoracic spine, my next 2 most important joints are the ball and socket joints. So think hips and shoulders. It's a, you know, the joint is the ball version, and then it sits in a socket and it moves 360. Maybe not anymore, but just being able to move through that. So I love this movement, but if getting down to the floor and back up is a lot, you can do a lot of these, like put one foot on a chair and turning and getting that hip to open and move. So there's always ways to make it more accessible. I know my older clients don't like getting up and down makes, it's important to be able to get up and down. But if it's too repetitive or it's disrupting the flow of your workout, we manage that and find alternatives. So thoracic spine, number 1, hips and shoulders, number 2. And then of all things, our ankles. We don't really think of that. So even just little things like tapping your foot while we're sitting here, you're in the grocery store waiting for somebody, like you might be perceived as like being anxious or like in a hurry for like tapping your foot. Maybe you do calf raises, which is also balance. But when you stretch and move through it, we call it mobility or dynamic. We don't have to necessarily just sit or dedicate an hour for yoga, although we love all that too. So, and then the balance plays a big part of that. Just our ability, the big word for it is proprioception, is like our awareness of our body in space. So that's why, if you're wondering why there's so many mirrors at a gym, it's because we're visual learners and we can see ourselves and we're better at like looking in the mirror to see where we're at. But even just building your awareness of like, where am I at? So maybe you're not ready to like stand on one leg. You can do little things like stand on both legs, but then shut your eyes and just see how long you can go without feeling a little wobbly. Obviously have something close by. But removing the visual part of it builds your awareness of like where your body is. I think I might've shared this story with y'all before, but I have trained hairstylists in the past, and think about their whole day is spent in a mirror. So they were very challenged typically of like doing exercises without a mirror because it was hard for them to like know where they're at, even their arms, like doing a bicep curl. So taking the mirror, we use a mirror for beginners. And then as we try to challenge them more, and if you see more advanced people that work out really don't use mirrors, because that improves the mind muscle connection that Jennifer was talking about.
That is so true. When I cheered, we would always do in front of a mirror when I was younger. And then you go on the field and you're like, oh, wait a second, where's the mirror to see and watch? So that is so true. And the good news is that all this is trained. So if you feel right now that your balance is off, you don't just say, well, my balance is off. It can get better. You don't have to give up, right? So balance is definitely something that's going to keep you confident as we age. And you want to make sure that we're doing the things that we need to do. And a couple ways that we can do that is, like in the video, I'm doing what's called a farmer walk. So you'll hold dumbbells, get up on your tippy toes and walk. But other ways is just a simple single leg stand, standing on one leg. I think that might, and then like heel to toe walk, like walking a tightrope. You can do that just in your living room, walking a tightrope. And then stepping over drills. I think I talked about that before, just stepping over something. And then maybe you step over something and stand on one leg, step over, stand on one leg, or then maybe you hop over it, right? And stand on one leg. And then march holds where you're marching, hold your leg, march, hold your leg. And then also, I was going to tell you, when you're working on balance, make sure that your eyes are focused on something not moving. So that means you would not look at yourself in the mirror when you're doing balance work. Okay. You're going to look at maybe something on the floor or on the wall that's not moving. That's going to help you keep your balance. And just in day-to-day stuff, if you're doing something, just try to focus on something that's not moving, because you're going to move when it moves, or your eyes are going to move, and then it throws you off balance. Okay. And ways to get started. You could, you don't have to do what's in the video. You could have a wall for support, but you want to make sure that your posture is tall and that you're focusing on something, again, that's not moving. But yeah, so how should we start safely? You want to make sure that you have the doctor's clearance, okay, to start anything. That we always make sure our clients have a doctor's clearance, or at least know what your limitations are when you are training, because our goal is not pain. Our goal is to make you feel better, right? And so start slow. This is not it's a marathon, not a sprint, right? So we want to make sure that we're slowly, some of our clients are like, well, this is easy. Well, we want to make sure we get the basics down before we just jump in and injure ourselves. Because if we injure ourselves, we're out weeks, right? So we're already behind schedule. And then again, focus on your form. So your form is very, very important. Keeping that mind connected to the muscle, your core engaged, really think about what you're doing. If you don't know what form is, you need to get a trainer, work with a trainer, maybe a coach, and let them teach you the proper form, or utilize some videos, right? And then really to be successful, the main thing is consistency. If you get discouraged, you got to show up again tomorrow, no matter what. Okay. So staying consistent is going to be very important to your success. And a good way to stay consistent is making sure that your program is doable and not overwhelming for you. We like to make sure that that happens as well, because you ever wake up on Monday morning and you don't want to get out of bed just because you have so many things to do, right? It's hard to stay consistent, but on the weekends, it's easy to get up because you know you don't have as much to do. And it's just, you want to stay, have a program that you're excited about. It's not always going to be easy, but you want to stay consistent with that. Yeah. So that's kind of how to start safely. And then setting up a fitness plan, honestly, you're going to need all this stuff listed here: strength, cardio, mobility, rest and recovery. It honestly depends on where you are. Programs meet you where you are. Okay. So you might just start out with a little bit of mobility, a little bit of cardio, but ideally you want to build up to all of these listed right here. You want to make sure your strength training, like we have a program that we'll talk about. It's called Fit Foundations. There's 3 levels. So the first level is just working out strength 2 days a week. The second level is working out strength 3 days a week. And then we move up to 5 days a week. But within that, you're going to have your cardiovascular, maybe daily, just 20 minutes. You always want to do cardio if you're pairing it. You want to do it after your weight training. Okay. Think about, you want to do what takes the most strength first. So even though maybe mental strength, it might be cardio for you, but physical strength, you want to do weights, then cardio, then usually a little mobility is good to start out, just to warm up. And then always stretch. Please stretch. Set a timer. Always set a timer at least 5 or 10 minutes. And I like to set a timer so I know, and stretch a little bit before and after. And honestly, you've got to get that core work in too as well. So that's very important. So that's kind of how to set up. If you need more help on that, we're happy to help you. Like you're like, I don't know what to do, where to do it, how to do it. We have training programs that are in the home, in the gym, and hybrid, where you could go in the home and at the gym. So if you say, I want to go Monday, Wednesday, Friday to the gym, Tuesday, Thursday at home, we got you. So any questions on that, we're happy to answer those as well. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, perfect little segue there. Let's go to Q&A. So I know there's a few questions already in the chat. We'll start with those, but this is the time while you have Denise and Jen right here to ask questions. We're going to take a few minutes here, and then we will, as I mentioned, I've got a little freebie for you. But okay, I saw one from Chris. This is a good question, Chris. Are twisting and rotational movements safe if you have osteopenia or osteoporosis?
Yeah, I would say yes. Off the, general yes, based on pain, but we're moving again. All range of motion is pain-free range of motion, and back to like when we started. So if Chris was sitting next to Sally and they were doing the same exercise, one of you might twist a greater degree and the other less, but just moving the body through that way. Because think about what we do in life. We bend down and tie your shoe, or we reach for something overhead, or we reach behind us to shut a door. So we're doing those movements anyway, but when we deliberately do them, it's like we're practicing daily movements, which in our field, we call that functional training. It's just a fancy word for practicing what you do daily. But again, it used to be too, like you had to squat to 90 degrees. But if you think about that, no, you can't even see what 90 degrees is from your point of view if you're doing the squat. So the answer is pain-free range of motion.
Your body will let you know what you need to do and not do, for sure.
And when we say that, I should clarify, it's okay to feel like the work, I mean, not necessarily pain, like you're going to feel the muscles when you're new, sometimes you're like, that's pain, but that's like muscle work, good, kind of good pain. But we're talking about joints. Like you don't want any sharp pain, you stop immediately. Or if you're feeling movements in your joints versus a muscle, then we don't do that. We find an alternative because we're trying to train the muscles, and we don't train joints. So if you start feeling things in your joints, you stop. And we back to like, there's so many ways to get there. There's so many other exercises we could list, but for today in simplicity with these foundational moves, you could take that and do like one set of each with body weight. And then you're like, that was too easy. Next week, I'm going to do 2 sets of each for 10 to 15 reps with body weight. And then week 3, you're like, oh, I'm going to do 2 sets of each of those moves with light weights, like a water bottle or a gallon, and like progressively move up. Our mind, you'll get, kind of not bored, but your mind will be wanting more variations of the exercises before your body stagnates or stops responding.
Thank you. Great answers. Some good questions are coming in here, y'all. Thank you for these questions. June is asking, how often should we do these exercises daily, every other day? So I'm going to assume if someone who's a beginner is going to work on the foundational movements that we showed in this session today, what would you recommend? And I understand this is very much tied to each individual and where they are, but is there some general guidelines that you could give for taking time off in between strength training sessions?
Right. I usually try to take, if the muscle's sore, you don't want to train it again the next day. Now, you do want to do cardio because the cardio, what that is lactic acid in the muscle, and you want to get that lactic acid out. So sometimes cardio is going to help with that. So it's actually going to help the soreness. But we have programs that are 5 days a week. So you can do you can train daily, right? But I usually like to take at least 1 or 2 days off for full recovery. Usually some people like to take 48 hours off, and that's usually what I do. So I'll do 5 days a week, take 48 hours off. But again, Melanie, like you said, it depends on the client, where they are. If they're just starting out, we'll probably do like a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, something like that, 3 days a week.
Yeah, and rest is just as important in safety, injury prevention. Building up and ramping up is really critical. So, you can work under the guidance of a professional like Jennifer and Denise. But if you're starting on your own, just keep that in mind too, that, start smaller and build. Great question. So we've got another one.
Add one thing, if you wanted, like all of those answers are right and outside of individualization, but say you're on a farm in the middle of nowhere and you have no trainer, and like this is completely on your own and you're choosing to do it on your own, the textbook, you can still see results if you work each muscle 2 times a week.
Yeah. Great.
So if you did full body, you could do that twice. If you had a day for just arms, you would do that 2 days. If you had a day for just back and shoulders and chest, but 2 days a week of just a little work to wake up that muscle and drive oxygen and circulation and challenge that muscle twice a week, and you're going to see some results.
Awesome. That is very helpful. Ron is asking, is there a handout? Ron, we will send you the videos, not a handout, but the actual videos that we showed with the demonstrations. You'll get that, and you'll also get a link to the recording from the session today. So you can go back and rewatch the cues if you'd like to do that. In the Q&A, I think I have another one. About collagen specifically. Is collagen protein additives actually that helpful since it is not absorbed very well as we age? Is there any other way to hydrate the joints naturally other than drinking a lot of water? Denise, do you want to answer that one, or Jen?
Yeah, there's just kind of a mixed bag. So yes, collagen is a type of protein that is beneficial more to the joints. Like we need different types of collagen, and you can do that in pill form or drink it. So the sponsor Native Path, theirs is more of a drink, and it's different deliveries. And then there's different types of protein, and protein is rated by its biological value, how fast it can be absorbed into the system. So like whey protein is like that clear liquid on top of yogurt, which can be dried and flavored like peanut butter, all the fun things. So that's a very easy protein for the body to absorb and use. It's just a different makeup as collagen protein. So they kind of have different purposes. But yes, any joint support like that is going to just be better than nothing, but separate from and not less or more. Like water is still like needed for life.
Yes.
Air and water.
For
and
sure.
just for fun, like the earth and and the human body are both made up the same percentage of water. I think that is not an accident. Somebody designed
Absolutely.
Right.
Deborah has a question that I think is an amazing segue right into our next little slide here, which is, how do I get started on machines at the gym? Is there a recommended app or guide for beginners to get started? Yes, ma'am. It sounds like this might be helpful for you. So Jennifer and Denise have built, specifically about a year ago, they built this for us. You may or may not even be aware of it. It's one of the reasons we wanted to share this with you today. As an AMAC member, a benefit, they created a program called Fit Foundations, and it's at a special discounted price. It's very affordable for AMAC members. And I want to tell you just how to find it. But Fit Foundations is a program guided by Jen and Denise that meets you right where you are. So 3 program levels, as Jennifer mentioned earlier. No matter your fitness level, there is an option for you. And then you have the opportunity to work directly with them for guidance along the way. It is done through an app, and there's directions, videos, complete guidance. So they are really there to help you every step of the way. You can start at a beginner, intermediate, or a more advanced. And I am putting in the chat for you, but also keep this in mind because you can check out everything that we're doing at AMAC Active on this website. It is amac.us/active. If you scroll just below the replay of our last webinar on the food guide pyramid, you'll see the Pro Shop, and that's right where you'll find the Fit Foundations program. There's a screenshot of it right there on your screen, but the code AMAC saves money on the Fit Foundations program. And it is designed specifically for AMAC members, exclusive to you, and it's a benefit to you of your membership. So I wanted to make sure you all found that, but also there are other resources there. There's articles, there's podcast episodes, there's some content downloads. And I just want to make sure that everyone who is on this webinar knows that we have that there for you. And we are adding more and more to it every single month. So as a thank you for your showing up here live with us today, I did want to give you a free resource, which is a compilation of various topics. This goes into strength training, nutrition, brain health, the gut, the GI connection. We talk about GLP-1s in there. There's just a lot of information packed into this AMAC Active Wellness Guide. The link that I just put in the chat will take you directly there. You don't have to fill out any forms or anything, but you can also access it at amac.us/active. So take a look at that. We'd love to hear your feedback too. And any particular topics or area of interest, please share those with us. So, one other thing I'll say one more time, you'll get a recording of the webinar session via email. That'll come, automatically to you, and you'll get a link also to all the videos. Jennifer and Denise have offered to make themselves available for questions. So you could simply reply to that email and you could let me know, I want to talk to Jennifer, Denise, I'll connect you, but they are here to help and would love to talk to you a little bit more if you're interested in the Fit Foundations program or you just have some questions. So we are like 1 minute to go. We did really, really well on time today. I'm so grateful. But I wanted to also tease that next month, our next webinar session is with a really awesome cardiologist, functional cardiologist, Dr. Sanjay Bojraj. He is amazing. He's so engaging and fun and knowledgeable, and he's going to talk to us about stress management. And you don't want to miss the session. So keep your eye out for the registration links that are going to be coming soon for that one. But I put the date and time up there. Jennifer, Denise, this has been truly an awesome session, really helpful. Thank you for being here and teaching all of us. For everyone who is in attendance, thank you for giving us an hour of your day and for your just interest and attention and prioritization over your health. We are here with you and for you, and I am always so open to feedback. So feel free to email me. We definitely want your feedback on the session and any other future topics that we could use to help you. So we're here to help. We want to provide value. So we are so grateful for all of you. Thank you for being members of AMAC, and thank you for your time on the session today. And we'll see you in April. Take good care, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.